All right, let's talk about whiskey. Now, most of us know it as that classic spirit, right? Something you sip and enjoy. But today, we're going to look at it from a totally different angle. Not as a drink, but as an investment, a real physical asset. Yeah, we're talking about owning the entire barrel. Just for a second, really picture that. You can almost feel the cool, damp air. You can smell that rich scent of aging oak and malted barley. It's an atmosphere just steeped in tradition. And inside every single one of those barrels, a liquid that's slowly, quietly becoming something incredible. And that right there is the question. What if you didn't just own a bottle off the shelf? What if you owned the whole cask while it was maturing, gaining character and, yes, gaining value year after year? It sounds like something for the super rich, but, it's actually more accessible than you might think. So this is where we get to the heart of it, whiskey cask investing. You don't have to be some kind of distillery tycoon to get a direct piece of one of the world's most timeless luxury goods. This is all about owning it at the source long before it ever sees a bottle. The key thing to get here is that it's a real physical asset. You're buying a barrel of what they call new make spirit, and it's going to sit there and age in a bonded warehouse. Its value isn't swinging with the daily ups and downs of the stock market. Nope. Its value is tied to its age, its rarity, and the quality of that spirit sleeping inside. Okay, so how does this actually play out? How do you go from just being curious about whiskey to actually owning a cask? Well, it's a surprisingly straightforward journey that begins at the distillery and hopefully ends with a nice addition to your portfolio. It all kicks off with the distilleries. See, they need cash flow, so they'll sell a certain number of their new barrels. That's where an investor like you comes in. You buy the cask, and then you play the waiting game. As that whiskey ages, we're talking 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, its value just keeps climbing. And then, finally, you get to the exit, where you actually cash in on your investment. And when it's time to cash out, you've got some really cool options. You could just sell the matured cask to another investor or a collector who's looking for something special, or, and this is a fun one, you could have the whiskey bottled with your own private label on it. Some people even work with the distillery to get their whiskey into the hands of distributors. So let's talk numbers. What kind of return are we even looking at here? Well, nothing is ever guaranteed, of course, but it is not unheard of for a cask's value to grow by over 300%. A barrel that you bought for a few $1,000s could become something worth significantly more, especially if it's from a famous distillery or a really rare batch. But hold on. Anytime you hear numbers like that, you have to pump the brakes and talk about the risks. Seriously. Before you get all excited and start searching for a broker in Scotland, it's absolutely crucial that you understand the other side of this coin. And this might be the most important thing to wrap your head around. A whiskey cask is what's known as an illiquid asset. You can't just wake up one morning and decide to sell it by lunchtime. This is a long-term commitment. It's a slow burn, right? The investment timeline literally mirrors the slow, patient aging of the whiskey itself. So let's put it all on the table, the good and the bad. On the plus side, you've got massive global demand, especially from new markets. And there's a natural scarcity. Once a cask is bottled, it's gone forever. Plus, it's a passion asset, something you can really connect with. But on the flip side, this market is not regulated like stocks. As we said, it's illiquid. And you absolutely positively need an expert and a reputable broker to guide you, or you could get into trouble. So after hearing all those warnings, you're probably asking, okay, so why even bother? And the answer is pretty compelling. It lies in this really unique mix of factors that drive the value of this so-called liquid gold. It really boils down to three main things. First, there's a growing global hunger for high-end whiskey. Second, that built-in scarcity we talked about. They just aren't making any more of that exact same spirit from that exact same year. And third, it's this powerful blend of having a passion for the product itself combined with the potential for a really nice profit. And let's not just gloss over that passion element. This is what makes it so different from a line on a spreadsheet. This is an investment you can actually go visit. You can draw samples over the years, tasting its evolution, knowing that you're part of its story right from the very beginning. I mean, how cool is that? Okay, so let's say your curiosity is officially piqued. You get the potential, but you also respect the risks. If you're seriously thinking about this, what are the smart, responsible first steps you should be taking? Look, the advice here is pretty straightforward. Start small. You do not need to bet the house on this. Do your homework.
and I mean a lot, of homework on brokers and their track records. You might even think about joining an investor group to pool your money and share a cask. And, of course, the golden rule of any alternative investment applies. Never, ever invest more than you are truly comfortable with losing.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. That beautiful amber liquid in your glass has a long, fascinating journey behind it. And for a handful of patient investors, that story isn't just about heritage and taste. It's about a long-term plan finally coming to a very, very sweet and profitable conclusion. Cheers to that.